I spoke to a Democratic operative. Somebody had put me in contact with.
Is this the weapon of war stuff? I got the sound. You want to play it?
Yeah, because I got something to add to this when you play.
All right, I got it. This is what Rich is talking about.
Yeah,
lots of sound like this of Tim Walz saying stuff like this. Listen, and then I'll let Rich rock and roll on this.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Weapons of war that I carried in war.
Busted. Here's the background, because this is really going to throw people for a loop. And I'm sure people who watch your show are going to react to this a lot differently than they think their base is. Okay. Because here's the kicker. This was not a one-off comment. I am told, and I know this is true, you're going to see more of this. There are at least a half a dozen of these videos that they were able to scrounge up from social media, from other people's social media that they were able to find. This wasn't a one-off comment. It was a routine. He made this comment a lot. He gave this like kind of prepped canned speech with canned remarks. And he said this repeatedly. They are aware of it. They found it and they chose. Let me just explain to people. They decided that it was less risky to their base to choose somebody who they know is guilty of stolen valor than it is for them to have nominated a Jew. This is unbelievable. If the roles were reversed, remember what they tried to do to George W. Bush. Know what they did to Sean, right? JR. They don't give a damn about the distinction of someone's service record. Richard Blumenthal ran around for years saying that he was a combat veteran in Vietnam. He was absolutely lying, and they helped him bury it. They helped him, sweep it under the rug. They're going to do, if this was a Republican, and Republicans had an anti-Semitic wing of their party, and they chose instead someone that had been falsely claiming that he was in combat when he in fact abandoned his men before combat. Bro, he's a buddy fucker. You know what I'm talking about? That's what he is. He's a buddy fucker. All right. I mean, you called it a blue falcon. I'm going to call it what it is. That is what we call them. All right. So he is the worst kind though, because he's a leader. He's a leader. This was a group of National Guardsmen. This is not regular Army. This isn't 10th Mountain Division. This isn't 2nd, 5th Special Forces Group. This isn't a Ranger bat. These are National Guardsmen who were probably scared shitless that they were getting deployed overseas. And you look to your leader for guidance and strength and bravery, and he abandoned them. And then he went around telling everybody that he's big, bad, tough anti-NRA guy. I'm going to stand up to them because I wielded these weapons in war. You didn't do shit. You abandoned your men. And they knew about it. And when it was raised, they caught it during vetting. When it was raised, this was deemed to be less risky than nominating Josh Shapiro.
Speaking of Josh Shapiro, go. Think
about this. Think about it. Could you imagine if there was such a large anti-Semitic wing of the Republican Party that Donald Trump was forced to nominate somebody who was guilty of stolen valor instead of nominating somebody who had Jewish heritage because he would be afraid that his base wouldn't vote for him? Could you imagine? This would be 24-hour coverage right now, wall to wall, all throughout the 4 days of the convention, starting if the Republican convention started August 10th. It would be Jim Costa. It would be what's his name from CNN? They'd be sitting there. Every speech somebody would give. So what do you think about that speech? I get the tone, and I didn't like the tone. It sounded a little Hitler to me. But let's talk about what a bunch of anti-Semites these people are, huh? Let's talk about how they couldn't nominate a Jewish guy because they're filled with anti-Semites. And next speech would come up. They'd listen to it. The nominating speech of the candidate would come up. And it would be, well, this is the tone he took, but let's get back to how they're a bunch of anti-Semites running around in KKK hoods all day. That's the way it would be. And they're going to cover for this. It's unbelievable to me. Sean, this is a sad state. It's sad state, not just of Democratic politics. It's not just a sad commentary on Democratic politics. This is a sad state on American politics, a sad commentary on the state of American politics. It is, because they calculated that this would be less of a risk. What do you say to that, man? What do you say to that? There's more clips of this. There are more clips. This is a routine thing, a routine speech that he gave, and they know all about it.
And if you think that this is like the only op research that they have on Walz, you're wrong. This is just what's crazy about this is just the opening salvo. They clearly got more.
Qualifying in any other generation other than this is totally disqualifying.
In almost any other job. Like if you try to get a security clearance at the government and you're lying about your rank or your military experience, you don't get hired.
And it is very common, just so everybody understands what happened with him here. He also bragged about being the highest ranking Democrat elected to the House from an enlisted military man standpoint. And he ran around and boasted about that. What he forgot to tell you is that because he abandoned his men, he did not finish the required courses. You know, back in my days, BNOC for
the Sergeant Major Academy. Yeah.
Yes. So he was busted back down to a master sergeant because they'll do that. Like in the 18 X-ray pipeline, when you cannot serve on a team unless you are a certain rank. So they'll try to figure out how to get you started at E3, which most people do. If you get through the pipeline, which a lot of people did, before it's an actual time frame, and it's time for you to go through the Q course, so you're done. Maybe they'll give you E4 or they'll give you like corporal or something because it's technically a non-commission. There are specialists, sadly, that have fallen in line of duty. People ask me all the time, I thought you had to be an NCO to serve on a team. That's what they were doing after 9/11. They were giving people these like honorary promotions, and then you were expected after your tour to finish that. Unfortunately, some of them never got home to do that. He, totally different scenario. He got home because he ran away from his duty, and then he just didn't do his coursework because he quit. He didn't retire. He quit. This is different. This is totally different after all that time.
It's so true.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
To get your free definitive gold guide and get started learning more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times, visit treasureandtrust.com now. Fill out the basic contact form and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's treasureandtrust.com or call 855-625-7760.